Okay, in this video, we will work problem 9-2A. 9-2A is on page 342 of your textbook, and you will work this on work paper 91. So 9-2A says, earnings for several employees for the week ended March 12th are as follows. So you can see that they give you a list of the employees. They give you a list of each employee's current earnings, each employee's taxable earnings for unemployment compensation tax, and taxable earnings for Social Security tax. And what they ask you to do is to calculate the employer's payroll taxes expense and prepare the journal entry as of March 12th, assuming that FUTA is 0.6%, SUTA is 5.4%, Social Security tax is 6.2%, and Medicare tax is 1.45%. So, if you remember, any time that you have to calculate employer payroll taxes, you need to refer back to those 6 steps that are presented for you on page 321 in your textbook. So the first step is to obtain the total earnings and taxable earnings amounts from the earnings, total and taxable earnings columns of the payroll register. So in order to do this, we're going to refer back to this payroll register. They gave us those columns, but they did not total them for us. So in order to complete step 1, you need the totals from those columns. You're going to have to add these. So we'll simply just draw a ruling and we will add the columns. So the total earnings, when you add those together, is going to be $4,000. So that is the total of the total earnings columns, one of the amounts we needed. Then we also need the total of the taxable for unemployment compensation column. So when we add these together, we'll find that the total is $710. And then the last number we need from step 1 is how much is taxable for Social Security. So we'll go to the taxable earnings for Social Security and we'll add those together, and that total is $4,000. Now, in this problem, yes, the current earnings total and the taxable for Social Security total are the same, but that's not always going to be the case, because remember, there is that $118,500 limit for Social Security. And so undoubtedly no one has exceeded that limit in this problem, and that's why all of the current earnings are taxable for Social Security. But remember, that will not always be the case. So that is what you need for step 1, those 3 totals. Now step 2 says compute the amount of employer's Social Security tax by multiplying the Social Security taxable earnings times 6.2%. So going back, how much is taxable for Social Security? We said $4,000 is taxable for Social Security. So to compute the Social Security tax, we're going to take the total of the taxable for Social Security column, so $4,000, times the Social Security rate of 6.2%, and we will get Social Security tax of $248. Okay? Then we will look back and move on to step 3, which says compute the amount of employer Medicare tax by multiplying the total earnings by 1.45%. So if we look back at our problem, the total earnings, $4,000. So we're going to multiply the $4,000 times the Medicare rate of 1.45% to calculate the Medicare tax. I just want to remind you that even though this number and this number are the same in this problem, we are getting those numbers from different places on the payroll register. They will not always be the same. Just want to emphasize that point. Okay, so 4,000 times the 1.45% is going to give us Medicare tax of $58. Okay, then we'll go back and move on to step 4, which says compute the amount of FUTA tax by multiplying the unemployment taxable earnings by 0.6%. So we look back at our payroll register. The amount that is taxable for unemployment is $710. So that is the number that we will use in calculating FUTA tax. So our FUTA tax is going to be 700 times the 0.6%. So our FUTA is going to be $4.26. All right, then we move on to step 5. And step 5 says compute the amount of SUTA tax by multiplying the unemployment taxable earnings times 5.4%. Again, we are using this number. What is taxable for unemployment? 710 to calculate, in this case, the state unemployment tax. So SUTA tax is going to be 700 times the state rate of 5.4%. So SUTA tax in this problem, $38.34. And those are the 4 employer payroll taxes. So then we will add them together to get the total employer payroll taxes. And so this is $348.60. Total employer payroll taxes. And with that information, we can make the journal entry to record the employer's payroll taxes for the period. If you remember, payroll taxes expense is always debited for the total of the 4 types of employer taxes. And then each of the individual tax amounts will be credited to the appropriate liability account. So they said that this payroll was dated March 12th. And we will debit payroll taxes expense for the total of $348.60. Then we must credit each individual liability account. So we'll start with Social Security tax. payable. You guys are forgetting the word payable a lot. These are liability accounts, so that is necessary. You do have to write Social Security tax payable. 248. Medicare tax payable. $58. FUTA tax payable. It's $426. SUTA tax payable. Is $38.34. Always double check. Make sure that your debits equal your credits. That will help you catch mistakes. And once you're verified that they equal, then you need to write your explanation. To record employer payroll taxes expense. Okay, so that is problem 9-2A.